Hi, I promised I'll put out another video on teaching series on the divorce medicine project and marriage building. Dr. Caxton Perry, for those who are new to the series and teachings on marriage and relationships. I'm at the Amarillo airport trying to get a nap, but I feel I should let this out right up front. I want to share with you 8 classic marriage mistakes that are in this new book, my 9th book, The 5 Love Handles. This classic marriage mistakes must be understood by you or by anyone that you counsel. If you're a counselor, if you're married, watch out for those ones. The first classic marriage mistake is choosing the wrong mate. If you choose the wrong mate, even if it's a good person but they're not right for you, chances are you'll mess each other's lives up or diminish your capacity to reach your fullest potential. I'm not going to go into details of what that means or give you any examples on that. You already know what it means to be married to the wrong mate if you did marry one. They may be nice, and even after your divorce or separation, you realize you're nice to each other, but you just couldn't get along. There's something called compatibility, and an absence of compatibility is equivalent to marrying the wrong mate. The second classic marriage mistake really is marrying a parasite, a gold digger, a vampire. It doesn't matter who they marry, even if it's someone who can bring out the best in them. They will refuse to bring out their own potential and reach their fullest capacity. They just want to take what you've got. That's called classic marriage mistake number 2. Classic marriage mistake number 3 is refusing to build. You see, some people are so adamant they want to have their way, even if it's a destructive path. They want to have their own way. I'm not going to go again into much details about that. You've probably seen or experienced those, or have had to counsel them. Those who refuse to build a marriage when they have the capacity and the ability to do so, they are following through classic marriage mistake number 3. And what's classic marriage mistake number 4? You don't know what to do in a marriage. Now that's ridiculous, but I have seen so many counseled couples and coached couples who just didn't know what to do in their marriages. You wonder why they married in the first place. But you've seen people like that who've been married for 16 years and still acting like they're fools as if they just married yesterday. It happens. It's sad, but it's reality. And what we do, you already know, teach and impart knowledge on how to build relationships. Classic marriage mistake number 5. Thinking before you marry is an important part of the process for building a truly successful marriage that makes both of you happy. Unfortunately, few people don't think carefully. I'll say that as a default. I'm hoping that a lot of people do think. They just happen to end up with someone who's not right for them. But people who fail to think about why they're going into the marriage, they are the ones different from those who don't know. Classic marriage mistake number 5. It's tricky, but get it clearly. It refers to those who do not think clearly about why they are getting married. Mom told us to get married. We want to have a business together. We've been living together for so long. Let's get married. All those kinds of things. They constitute classic marriage mistake number 5. An unclear thinking process that leads to a marriage that becomes a marriage made in hell. And what's classic marriage mistake number 6? Remember, I told you about the article quoted. I wrote that in 2005 by msnmoney.com about expensive marriages. And in 5 Love Handles, you'll see a little bit more about the research findings from Emory in Atlanta, where they showed that if you spent more than $2,000 on your engagement ring or more than $20,000 on the wedding itself, your risk of getting divorced goes up 30% for the engagement ring, and 60% increase, for getting married with a wedding that costs more than $20,000. You say, wow, that's not a whole lot of money. I don't know what that means, but you put that in reference in terms of how much money you make. Only about 3% of the entire country make $240,000 or more a year, which means if you're spending more than 2 months' salary on your wedding and it's not savings that you've put aside, you may be taking a risk and plunging yourself into something that's going to make you unhappy for the rest of your life. That's expensive wedding. Classic marriage mistake number 6. And if I could add to that, there's one more thing. In that article in 2005, my quote was $40,000 before this research was done with about 3,151 couples. It was published last year. So look at it this way. If in 2005 an article is written stating $40,000 is expensive and it puts you at risk, and research studies now done several years later and published in 2014 show it's even 20,000, half of that. That's a large chunk of difference in terms of the risk. So you may be trying to make up for some deficiencies that you know are internal when you have an expensive wedding. Look carefully. I mentioned and shared some of the reasons why people want to have an expensive wedding when they are broke even before the wedding, and when they have a lot of credit card debts or just plain in debt but still want to have an expensive wedding. What deficiencies they're trying to cover up, and what you should really do before embarking on such an expensive wedding. That's all in 5 love handles, available at Amazon.com. Classic marriage mistake number 7, quitting before it's time for you to quit. Some people are just plain not ready to fight for what's best for them. Some people give up when they shouldn't have to, and some have a psychiatric component to their problems in the marriage. They believe that a marriage should be a fantasy land, Cinderella-like behavior, and men and women fall into that category. The whole point here is you make classic marriage mistake number 7 when you have healthy conflicts, but you have a bias against conflict that's even healthy because you expect your marriage to be smooth and a fantasy world. Anytime there's healthy conflict between you and a spouse, and you want to quit the marriage as a result of such a conflict, which is meant to really build you up spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, then you're going to be making classic marriage mistake number 7. This 7 mistakes so far are some of the greatest reasons why people are unhappy in their marriages and often blame their spouses. That takes me to classic marriage mistake number 8, which is thinking that your spouse is responsible for your own happiness. You own your own happiness. No one is responsible for your happiness or unhappiness. People can try to do things to you, but if you come in completely empty, hoping that your spouse, the person you marry, is the one who's going to fill you up and make you happy, wow, you've got a big task that you've placed on somebody who's got to do something to make themselves happy and do something to make you happy. You cannot live 2 lives. So if you're expecting your spouse to make you happy, you're already on the path to classic marriage mistake number 8. Get out of it. Snap out of it. This is Dr. Caxton Perry, marriage building coach, compatibility expert, and the world's leading expert on the medical complications of divorce. I've got a lot of books out there, and most of the information that I have available for you are free, so that you can set yourself free, spirit, soul, and body, and enjoy the marriage that God intended for you to have. Again, it's Dr. Caxton Perry. If you want more, go to www.drcaxton.com, DOCTORCAXTON.com, or just check out the books on Amazon.com. Have a blessed day.